Kia ora tātou. Welcome to the Child Safety and Protection Workshop, everybody. Thanks for your patience. Just had to grab another link which Ash has sent out, so I just gave people a few minutes, so we're a little bit late in starting, but this is a short but sweet, hopefully, introduction to what we need to remind ourselves about in terms of child safety and protection. Look, I hope you've had some good working time over the rest of yesterday and, of course, this morning. And now we move into this workshop. Child safety and protection is a topic that every employer, particularly in schools, is required to ensure continues. So there may be from last year's workshops some familiar material, and you may think, well, actually I get to the end of the workshop and I know most of that. But we do have an obligation as an employer to make sure that you are kept up to date and reminded. So hence today's workshop. So you will need a pen and paper, or if you want to put notes on your phone, that's fine. So scramble around in your areas to grab that if you need to. We'll get to that in a minute. So you might have noticed the last few advertisements that we have put out, we are saying that St Peter's is a child-safe school. Why can we claim that? Well, I think all schools would want to claim that, but we are putting it out there that we are a child-safe school, and that means we have safeguarding measures through training for staff, and in this year more deep training for students as well. I do acknowledge that in PE and health and in the wellbeing curriculum there are a number of topics that would perhaps align to this overarching topic, and I know that a lot of people do some good work in this space with our students. However, it's important that we actually do start the work with our students through this formal child safeguarding approach. We've always said, even last year, that every student's safety is everyone's responsibility because we're all around the campus and we're all therefore able to notice things that might not be sitting quite right with in terms of the child and young person's protection policy that we have. First of all, just to let you know what I'm hoping to achieve from this presentation. Look, you should walk away with some increased knowledge and understanding of the updated policy. So this policy was looked at again by Dr. Suzanne Blackwell, and for those of you who have not been with us before and are new to our team, Suzanne is a forensic and clinical psychologist, and she was brought in by the board a couple of years ago to start working with us to ensure that we were well up to date with policy, but also with our safeguarding practices. So a lot of this material comes from her. I'm not an expert, but we know that it's really important to ensure that you have the information you need to make decisions around student safety and your own safety, in fact. We also hope that you'll have some increased knowledge and understanding as to what your responsibility actually is as a staff member. So, you know, most of you might be sitting there and thinking, well, what does this mean for me? You know, when you go to a workshop, how can this impact on me? What do I need to do as a result? Just tell me what I need to do. So I hope that there's some clarity around that. This is obviously an ongoing building of knowledge that happens, and we will continue with updating you and reminders for students and staff across the year. The culture of the organisation is the key to safeguarding practices, and we talked about culture, well, I talked about it to you yesterday, and how each one of you contributes to the culture of an organisation. And so in this context of child protection, it's about your contribution to ensuring that children are protected in our care, and that you too have safeguarding measures in place for yourself. I want to do a little test now and just see what you remember or what you might know from your other contexts that you've worked in if you're new to school around the Child and Young Persons Protection Policy. Our policy is on the internet for you, so you can access that, and I would like you to take 5 minutes during this workshop, at the end of this workshop, to read that policy, because it is important that you are well aware of what that does say. But let's just have a little quiz. I thought Matt's quiz yesterday was a great idea, so I'm going to try and do the same thing today. So I've got a range of questions. They're going to be true-false statements, so you're going to either singly on a bit of paper or in your notes, or you can do it as a group if you like. And then the first team that get to the end and think, right, I've got this sorted, I've got all my answers, can phone me. And we'll see who gets those answers correctly done. And of course, you know me, there's always a prize in it, okay, so for the team. So let's get going. So each of these statements relates to our St. Peter's context and our Child and Young Persons policy. The Child and Young Persons Protection Policy does not cover voluntary staff. Number 2, the term child is defined as a student of 14 to 18 years of age. Number 3, an example of physical abuse is poisoning. Number 4, an example of sexual abuse is kissing. Number 5, the designated person for child protection at St. Peter's is Brenton Joubert. Number 6, staff who become aware of potential harm to a child must report this by law to the designated person of child protection. Number 7, staff can report potential harm of a child directly to Oranga Tamariki. Number 8, when a student reports to you that they have been sworn at, you have the responsibility to manage it. Here's my number, 027 808 5261. 027 808 5261. Who's the first group that are going to call me to get that prize? Go for it. Hello, who have we got here?
Julie, it's Mark Bellum in the art department.
Oh,
How are you?
hello, Mark. How are you? Are you and your team the first one to get through?
I did some quick number typing there and managed to get through first.
Well done, well done. Is the screen on again? Yep, screen's on again. Let's have a look at how you've gone then, Mark. We'll work through this. So the first one, what did your team come up with?
False for the first one.
Correct, false. I hope you in the other areas are marking yourselves. The term child is defined as 14 to 18 years of age.
We also said false for number 2.
Yep, you are correct. In actual fact, a child is defined as under 14 years of age, and a young person is between the age of 14 and 18 inclusive. So well done. Number 3, an example of physical abuse is poisoning.
True.
Correct, great, going great guns. An example of sexual abuse is kissing.
True.
Correct. The designated person for child protection is Mr. Jubir.
True.
Awesome, going well. Staff who become aware of potential harm to a child must report it by law to the designated person of child protection.
Also true.
Okay, I wonder if some people out there might have said it was false. Whether the law tripped you up by the law. It's actually the St. Peter's policy that states we must inform the designated person of child protection. So it's actually a requirement of our policy. It could be argued, depending on what the level of potential harm was, as to whether it was lawfully going to be applied, such as in a criminal case or not. So it's that was a bit of a trick one there, Mark, a little trick one.
Fell into that then a little bit.
Okay, let's have a look at number 7 for you. Staff can report potential harm directly to Oranga Tamariki.
Well, we put false. I suppose you put there we can, but the recommendation would be not to, and therefore it would be a false piece of information.
Yep, you are correct, because our policy actually states that you must report it to the designated person before, and then that group then decides who's going to do the reporting to Oranga Tamariki. And number 8, what do you think about that one?
We also said false for number 8.
So when a student reports to you that they've been sworn out, you have a responsibility to manage it.
So we felt as though the responsibility doesn't necessarily fall on us to manage it, but certainly there's a responsibility to report it to the relevant person or team.
Okay, so I guess that's another ambiguous question. What does the word manage mean? And manage could mean that, if it happens in front of me, I need to deal with it as a teacher, and I think most teachers would do that. But in terms of taking it through to a management level, it would be a referable offence. So correct. Well, it looks like you got just about all of them right. Let's see if how the others did.
Excellent. Okay.
Thank you very much, Mark. Good work.
Thanks, Julie. Thank you.
Bye. So I wonder how many of you have got a 10 out of 10 or a 9 out of 10. Perhaps I can see lots of phone messages and text messages coming through my phone, so maybe I'll find out that way. But of course, if there is a 10 out of 10 out there, can you let me know by text or by email, and I'll make sure something goes into your managers or leaders or Hof's pigeonhole, so that you can draw on that prize this afternoon. Just if you are, let's just look at the last piece before you're going to have your few minutes to have a look at the policy. I do want to acknowledge that sometimes this particular topic can be challenging for some people. That's why we try to always advise our staff in advance that we're going to have a workshop, and I think that it's really important that if you feel there is something that is going to be a trigger for you, you utilise your support networks. And if it's a support network external to school or whether it's internal to school, please do that so that you are keeping yourself safe in this context. I would like to just go through some do not reminders, and as I said, a number of you will be aware of these, and some of you will think they are common sense, but we have a duty of care to make sure that we are very clear with you about this. So, Providing independent support to a student. Obviously, we're really supportive because that's the nature of our job. Independent support, looks like perhaps offering to pay for a student's camp, or do something because things are a little bit hard for them financially. There is a financial hardship process that comes through my office, so through Liz, but we have to be really careful about offering monetary financial support to our students. So that's why that one is there. This next one is controversial. Travel alone with or transport a student in a personal vehicle. So, we do transport students in vans, but we should, if there's one student, that student should be placed right to the back of the van, seat belted, with you in the front. If at all possible, try not to do that. Sometimes we have to, nurses so on, have to take a student to a medical centre, and they would always transport them, put them in the back of the car. So it's about mitigating the risk, but when you start thinking about your own personal vehicle and having one student in there, that could be potentially challenged. So just to keep yourselves safe. And I know these are extra precautions, but we're trying to safeguard you as well here. I think the next one is obvious: attending any St Peter's environment under the influence of or in possession of non-prescribed illicit drugs or alcohol. Look, I had a very unfortunate experience in one school where we brought the drug dogs through, and we didn't notify. We notified the staff that was happening, but not at the particular time, and the drug dog picked up quite a significant amount of marijuana in the teacher's briefcase in the classroom. So it was obviously a very unpleasant situation and had to be managed after that. So it's absolutely a no-no, and I'm sure you understand that. Images of students for non-school purposes. So even for school purposes, can I remind you that on the students' record there are, I think there's about 7 or 8 students whose parents have not signed the notification to allow their student to be put into images, and so it is important that you do know who those students are, but also, and Ruth has that information if you need it, but for non-school purposes, imagery of students is a no-go. Sometimes the walls of silence, don't tell anybody I told you that, or you don't share that with anybody else, so that encourages secretiveness, and that's to be avoided at all times. Initiate and engaging, permitting discussions around sexual association, can be open to a perception of grooming, or parents may say that they didn't want their child to be involved in that kind of conversation. In my time at St Peter's, we've only had to manage a couple of those things, but in some schools we have had to manage those, and it's just best to stay away from those topics if you can, because it keeps you safe. Using any form of verbal or written engagement that's emotionally harmful or abusive. I'm sure that via your emails you wouldn't do that, but again, it's just a reminder for us. And we cannot ignore or disregard any suspicions of child harm or abuse, inappropriate conduct of a student, or towards a student rather. Look, you might be out in the ground, you might see something, you might think that's not appropriate, and it should be reported. And any student who raises a child safety concern. So an example of that could even be as low level as, I'm not going to come to this class anymore because I just need you to know that student did that to me. And you now have that knowledge, so with you having that knowledge, you need to do something with it, because we don't want you to be carrying that. We're trained as teachers, we're not trained as health professionals, counselling professionals, and so we want to be able to make sure that we put that in the hands of the people that are best equipped to be able to manage a process around that. So those are some reminders for you, and I imagine sometimes a topic like this does bring questions, and so if through your head of faculty you have some questions, they can come through to me once you've collated them via email. I'll look at them all, and then we'll grab a group together and I'll put an email out just to clarify anything, or maybe I may have to speak to it if I haven't made myself clear today, because I understand that it's quite hard to do this in an environment where you can't just put your hand up and ask. I do appreciate your time today, and understand that it's not the best way to deliver a topic like this, but as you can appreciate, it's a serious topic, and I know that as professionals you will take it seriously in terms of receiving it. Thank you very much for joining today, and as I say, apologise for the hiccup at the start, and now you have a few minutes just to have a look at that policy to make sure you are familiar with it, where it is, and what it says. I hope it's been helpful, and wish you all the best as you do get to have your lunch together and then off to your long weekend. Enjoy, everybody. See you later. Kia ora tātou, everyone. Welcome to this presentation workshop on child safety and protection. It's great to have you with me, and I'm sorry you're not here in person, but it is good to have you out there in your teams, in your groups for this workshop. Child safety and protection is obviously a really important topic for us in terms of how we work with our students in the school and how we work with each other in the school. So you may have noticed in our more recent advertising of staffing positions, we say that St Peter's is a child-safe school. What does that mean? Well, it means that we take the time to educate our staff, to give reminder workshops to our staff, to make sure we do work with our students in safeguarding. And I want to acknowledge that there are groups of and teams out there that do this work really well anyway, because you've been doing it for a number of years and have experience in it. However, we have a duty of care to you as an employee, and we as the employer must ensure that we offer ongoing training, ongoing reminders to our staff to ensure that you are safeguarded, but also that we are following our safeguarding policy, which is called the the Child and Young Persons Protection Policy. So while I acknowledge there is expertise out there and that some of today's material might not be a surprise to you, I hope it will serve as a reminder. Last year, if you were with us, we did some child protection training workshops, and we record that the staff have attended those as part of their professional learning. In fact, in Australia, they have to do this with all their staff every year and have to sign off on it. We're certainly following some good practices that have been introduced in other countries at St Peter's. So we've always said that everyone plays a part in keeping students safe. It's everyone's responsibility here at St Peter's, and you all contribute to that with the work that you do. From today's workshop, I'm hoping you'll walk away with a little bit of extra knowledge and understanding about the policy, because it was updated late last year. And this policy is what we use to guide our practice. So yes, there'll be other ideas out there in the other workplaces, but this is what we use to guide our practice here at St Peter's. And this policy has been reviewed and will be each year by Dr. Suzanne Blackwell. If you've just joined us this year on staff, Suzanne Blackwell is a clinical and forensic psychologist, so she's very experienced in working in this area. I'm not an expert, but she does the training with me, and then that helps me impart it, and eventually we want to start widening that training so that other people in the organisation can feel comfortable in delivering the information and updating you. So this information is always updated by Suzanne, and as I say, she's employed by the board to work with us in this space. One of the things we will be doing this year is moving into the space more deeply with our students and ensuring that they understand what safeguarding means and how they are going to be kept safe and what they should do to keep themselves safe. So again, I know that there's some work being done out there with teams, but we will be doing that more explicitly with them during this year. And of course, just making sure, as the second statement says, that you know that what your responsibility is, because when you come to a workshop like this, you say, well, what do I have to do? You know, that's often what you want to know. What do I need to do? Is this okay? Is this not okay? And that's kind of where your responsibility aspect lies. We talked about this yesterday, the culture of an organisation, and you as a team member at St Peter's do make a significant contribution to the culture in the way that you act, in the way that you behave, and the things that you do, and through your professional approach to how you work with our students. And so with child protection, if we have a culture where students know that something will be done about something if they report it, or if a staff member knows that something will be done about something if they report it, then that's contributing to a culture of protection, safeguarding and safety. And that's certainly what our intention is in our work. I thought, rather than going through the policy, policies can be a bit dry and a bit boring, so rather than going through the policy bit by bit, what I'll do is do a little test. What do you know? And I really liked Matt's program yesterday, where he asked some questions, and in the teams, you kind of went flat out and answered them, and then you put a call through, and we were able to go through the answers, and then as you know me, some of you, there's a prize in it, okay? So there's a prize for the team who gets to the phone call first. And what I'm going to do is read out the statement. Please just note this relates to the St Peter's context. So if you've been in another context, it might be different in that context. So think about it in terms of our context, whether the statement is true or false. Note it down on pen or paper or in your notes on your phone, and then at the end I'll give you my phone number first up, and we'll see how you go with your answers. Let's go. The Child and Young Persons Protection Policy does not cover voluntary staff. Number 2, The term child is defined as a student who is between 14 and 18 years of age. Three, an example of physical abuse is poisoning. Four, an example of sexual abuse is kissing. Five, the designated person for child protection at St Peter's is Brenton Joubert. Six, staff who become aware of potential harm to a child must report this by law to the designated person of child protection. Number 7, staff can report potential harm of a child directly to Oranga Tamariki. And number 8, when a student reports to you that they have been sworn at, you have a responsibility to manage it. Here's my phone number, 027 808 5261. 027 808 5261. Go for it. Hello.
I'm the winner.
You're the winner. Who are you?
Marion, how are you?
Hello, Marion. Nice to have you online. Let's see how you've gone with this little quiz.
Okay, Sam.
So we're going to go through the questions, and obviously we're online so other people can hear as well and be marking themselves. If they get the same mark as you, they might get a prize too.
Awesome.
Let's go. The Child and Young Persons Protection Policy does not cover voluntary staff.
That is a false.
Correct. That is right. Next one, the term child is defined as a student of 14 to 18 years of age.
That is also false.
Correct. A child is defined as under 14 years and a young person is 14 to 18 years inclusive. An example of physical abuse is?
An example of physical abuse.
Is poisoning.
Poisoning, true.
Correct. You're going well. An example of sexual abuse is kissing.
That is also true.
Great. Yes, you are right. The designated person for child protection is Brenton Joubert.
Absolutely.
Yep, you are spot on. Next one, staff who become aware of potential harm to a child must report it by law to the designated person.
Yes.
Okay, this is where there could be a little bit of ambiguity around what people have answered. So the sticky bit in there, the tricky bit in there is the law bit. So our St Peter's policy states that we must inform the designated person of child protection. It doesn't say that it's by law required because that will be determined at a later date in terms of criminality and so on. So, yeah, that's a trick question, Marion.
Darn it.
Number 7, Staff can report potential harm of a child directly to Oranga Tamariki.
We have put false. You've got to follow the protocol.
Yep, absolutely. And so if we're following our policy, that is a false. And number 8, when a student reports to you that they've been sworn at, you have a responsibility to manage it.
Yes, absolutely.
Again, a little bit of a trick question there. So it depends on what we believe the word manage means. So if a child has been swearing, we do need, if a child's been sworn at, we do need that to be picked up on. So if it happened in my classroom, I would pick up on it and I would deal with it. If it happened on an ongoing way, I would refer it to the deans to be managed. So again, a bit of a trick question there for you. Let's see how you did. I think you've got enough to get a prize there, but there might be other teams out there that have done just as well as you. So I'd invite them to text me and let me know, and then we'll get the prizes out to you. So well done, Marion, and thanks for participating.
That's the first schoolhouse win for the year. How exciting.
So exciting for Schoolhouse. Well done.
Cheers, see ya.
See you. Thank you, everybody, for participating in that wee quiz. We're going to give you a little bit of time at the end of this workshop to have a look at the child protections policy on child and young persons policy rather on the internet, so you can search it and have a look. But just before we do that, I think it's a good idea just to go through the do nots in terms of reminders. So many of these will be common sense, you'll know them, but just want to be really clear that we have completed our duty of care and reminded you. I do appreciate that this topic can be sensitive for some people. It might be a trigger, and if that's the case, please remember you can reach out to our wellbeing staff, to our EAP service, and also for those of you who might need some support, please remember to reach out to your support people so that you are well supported if this is a tough topic. It's really hard to judge at the moment because I can't see you. Obviously, this is a topic that I would normally want to do with you in front of me, so that I could take audience questions and I could be perhaps more helpful to you. What I would invite you to do is to gather up any questions that you have. If you can't answer them after you've read the policy, then just gather them up and email them. Once I get them all in, I'll have a look at them and we'll either deal with them via a Google Meet back, or we could put them back in an email if it's appropriate. So let's get on with the reminders. Providing independent support to a student. So just so you're aware, it's we sometimes, because we're in a vocation where we really care about people, if the student is finding things tough and might need some financial support, we might feel that we should pay for their camp or help them in some way financially, and that's not a safeguarding practice. So we stay away from that because that's not what we do. There is a financial hardship grant that is run through Liz in the campus principal's office, and so if there was anything in particular like that of significance, you could always go through that, but please don't do that personally. The next one, travelling alone with a student in a personal vehicle. I know that way back in the day when I first entered education, we did do this, and what we say is avoid it at all costs at the moment. So if you absolutely have to, and sometimes our nurses do because they have to take a student to the doctor, they would put that student in the back of the vehicle, to safeguard themselves and mitigate risk. But it's unwise. We always say when you're dropping students off in a van as well, drop the one off that's at the very back of the van first. Attend any, sorry, I should have clarified that, the one that's alone at the back of the van. I'm sure you're aware, being under the influence of alcohol or in possession of non-prescribed or illicit drugs is a no-no. Sadly, I have been in a school where we've had the drug dogs through, and a staff member was found in possession of quite some significant marijuana. And so, that was had to be dealt with in a disciplinary way, and we don't want that for anyone here. So I'm sure it's a common sense thing, but just a reminder. Taking imagery of students for non-school purposes, again, that's not a safeguarding practice. I would suggest also there are a few students on our roll who are not allowed to be used for images. Ruth is aware of those students if you want to know who they are, because their parents have not given permission for that to occur for various reasons. Sometimes in child protection they talk about the wall of silence and how it creates a secretive environment or a secretive culture. So that idea of, don't tell anybody, just so you know this is what I'm up to, whatever. That kind of thing is not professional and not encouraged. Initiating and engaging or permitting any discussions or behaviours towards a student that is sexual association, those sorts of things can be open to the perceptions of grooming. And in my time as a principal, I unfortunately have had to deal with a number of aspects of grooming, and which were proven, and so really sad for the child involved, and not pleasant for the staff member who had to go through that process either. So that's why that's there, just to remind you. Any form of verbal or written engagement that's emotionally harmful or abusive. So just thinking about when you're emailing, it'll mostly be about student work. So keeping an eye on the fact that it's safe wording, and if we ignore or disregard any suspicions of child harm or abuse, or any inappropriate conduct towards a student occurs, or if a child raises a safety concern and we ignore it, then we've not met our responsibility. So it could even be a child who raises a safety concern about others in the class that they're finding, and it's difficult to get on with. What have we actually done as a teacher about it? And then if it goes on, if we check in and it's still going on, what have we done at the next level and the next level, and so on. So just making sure that those concerns do get the attention that they require. You may find after an investigation that actually, they weren't really there. But if we ignore them, then we are not following good safeguarding practice. Look, I know there's been a lot of instruction there rather than interaction. But as I say, I thank you for your attending the workshop, and there are specific probably aspects to child protection within your areas, and if there is further support that you need for the particular area that you work in, I'm happy to provide that or work alongside your leaders, your heads of your teams, to support you, so that you feel that you know this work really well, and that you're going to be safe in your practice. There is some time left in the workshop, and that's for you to have a look at the policy together, have a read through, and as I said, remember, if there are any questions, we can manage those through email in the first instance. But thank you for your time, and also appreciate the work you did yesterday and this morning, and I hope that you enjoy the lunch that is to come, and that you get to the weekend and you're able to enjoy a lovely 3-day long weekend.